Welcome to another episode of Smash Writing. I am your host for today, Paul. This is the second edition of Chills and Thrills, basically. And the first one I did, this is one of my segments that I'm starting to like when I do these reviews and discussions, excuse me, and stuff like that. The first one was obviously I was reviewing the Netflix film, which was very creative and disturbing with the Chris Watts situation. This one is once again another disturbing situation. I'm reviewing the Netflix documentary series. It's a miniature one, as they call it, mini documentary series or limited doco series called Challenger: The Final Flight. Now, this flight took place in just the beginning of 1986, so I was not around. Now, I will say, I was young and remember watching the news with the Columbia situation, which took place, as I can recall, back in 2002. So the series, and we can talk. I want to talk about the actual series first. The series has 4 episodes. They're generally about 40 to 50 minutes long, even maybe hitting the hour marker. The show has 4 episodes titled. The first episode is titled "Space for Everyone." Number 2 is titled "Help." Number 3 is "A Major Malfunction." And number 4 is "Nothing Ends Here." This is, and I want to make this clear. I love NASA. I love space. Astronomy is one of my hobbies that gets real close with this. What I do, what me and Justin does here at Smash Writing. So, Netflix does do a good job at making documentaries. It's one of their stronger points in my eyes. I feel like, they couldn't make their money off of documentaries. NASA has been doing some good lately, with the SpaceX, teaming up with SpaceX, the private sector of space travel now. It's no longer a government-controlled thing that you get to experience and all that. Each episode tells basically a story, leading up to the Challenger. The Challenger crew, the training, the selection. This was one of those special ones where this was a big deal because the spaceship, the shuttle program, space shuttle program, at this point, they were like popping them off left and right. When the program first started, it was really a big deal because it was a next step. There was, you didn't have to build a rocket and then get rid of it. This was a reusable vehicle. And it only helped the dominance of the United States in achieving space. Well, at some point, things then start to get boring. Because mission after mission after mission is complete. And that's a good thing. I mean, it really is. I mean, we take that for granted, but it is a good thing. Well, here we bring Space Shuttle Challenger, and there are some issues. The space program is not generating attention anymore, so they had to mix it up. And this is where NASA starts putting the idea of civilians, non-astronauts, non-military people in space. They did a competition, an entry, and Krista McEffel, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, would become the first teacher in space. So they started generating interest again because they're like, well, now we can add the general public involved. She was a teacher. She was not a trained astronaut. The crew consisted of Francis R. Scooby, which was the commander, Michael J. Smith, the pilot, Ronald McNair, mission specialist, Elijah Azuka, a mission specialist, Judith Resnick, mission specialist, Gregory Jarvis, payload specialist, and of course the teacher, Krista, payload specialist, who was the teacher. Now, a lot of times NASA gets it right with everything has to be perfect. Everything has to go right for these space shuttles to just go up in space. It's not, they can't do it on certain days. They can't do it on any given day. The problem became that after 32 months of delay, NASA decided to make the decision to go up in space. As the series prolongs into episode 3, it actually starts with the end of episode 2 into episode 3 and partially into episode 4. You learn that NASA knew about the issues that caused this thing. And obviously, if you're not aware of the situation, the shuttle up in the atmosphere randomly explodes. It blows up sadly. Obviously, killing all the crew members, which is something that until they found the cockpit was hoping there would be some type of hope. But unfortunately, all the bodies were recovered and there was no hope of surviving. Obviously, when you're that far up through all these failed missions, once a mission goes wrong, it goes wrong, and there's nothing more you can say or do about it. I don't want to paint NASA in a bad light. This series just makes them look completely horrible, and it may be rightfully so. They had their paperwork in front of them and said there is a faulty situation where a SIL has been compromised. Basically, there's something wrong, and this could cause damage. And NASA openly knew about it, and they continued to go ahead and go forth with the mission, saying, well, it's still perfectly fine. And unfortunately, we learn in episodes 3 and 4 that nothing was fine. They had tons of research going on and said this was not supposed to be a good day. They needed to check this out, and they failed to. And of course, when you lose that many lives, it's not good. The series really does give you, they do the interviews of the families, show footage of these astronauts, talking about what this mission means to them. And it is a great deal. Nothing at any point do you feel like they don't want to do this. It's a great time in their lives to do this, and they were all gung ho. Then you see their training. You see what NASA does, where they give like a beach house to these people to enjoy with their families on the final night, because obviously going up to space isn't a 9-to-5 job. It's going to be weeks, it's going to be months, might even be years. It's a big important deal. And so everything goes, the night before, okay, here we go, the countdown. They got liftoff. Liftoff was successful. They're almost out of the atmosphere, and then the rockets explode, which unfortunately led to their demise. The series also goes into where episode 4 really takes place, to now the investigation. Now someone needs to be at fault. What the series does manage to do is to show you that there are people that, the control mission, the grounds crew, the ones who made a decision, some of them will have still made it clear that the evidence said that the rocket was still good to go, and they felt like they did nothing wrong, despite evidence saying, you can't do this. Please don't do this. But then there are some that have to live with that guilt, and you see that humanity said that they made a mistake. They should have listened, but the bosses above them told them, you make the decision, and basically made them feel like their job was on the line, and they had to live with the guilt of what they'd done. And they basically sent a bunch of people to their doom, to their graves. And it does, you do see a lot of remorse on a couple of these people, and downright even crying. They have to live with this for the rest of their natural life. Though nothing was charged criminally with individuals, there was basically an investigation. The fines were taken, new rules were put in place, everything like that. Now, jumping forward, once again, it's sad because NASA, when they make a mistake, they make the same mistake over and over again. And yes, they may have had hundreds of thousands of successful missions, but we don't talk about the successful ones because when it goes bad, it goes bad. Spaceship Columbia, same thing. They openly knew that a piece of foam damaged the wing for Columbia, and when Columbia was coming back, they knew the plane basically was compromised, and they refused to have the astronauts fix it. They said it can work when they get back in. Well, when you're up there 100s and 1,000 degrees, that's a lot of wear and tear on a small little hole, and ultimately led to those astronauts' doom too. This series, I have to give it, I'm rating it as, man, I want to give it at least an A or 90%. It is a must watch. If you are a NASA fan, you have to watch it. I think most NASA fans will watch it. And you can be a fan of NASA and understand that NASA also is a business, and sometimes they'll let business decisions get in their way of safety and everything like that. When I watch shows that are based on real tragedies, when you see real footage of these people, just like the Chris Watson, where it wasn't actors doing it, it was the real people. This is real footage. It does seem a little creepy, and it's so sad too, because you watch how these astronauts lost their lives for no real reason except greed, and it was no fault of their own. This series does do such a great job with breaking down each and every element. Honestly, me personally, I don't think 4 episodes was enough. They managed to do it, but they did a great job at telling the points that they needed to tell. And obviously, this happened in 86. NASA has moved on, even from the Columbia situation of 2002. They moved on, they survived and everything like that. But this is still a tragic situation. Netflix, once again, does a great, telling a great story here of, how it started, how it ended, what went wrong, what they could have done in the aftermath. Like I said, if you are a true NASA fan, you will love this. And you might agree with some of those people. Hey, did they know? Didn't they know? Was it enough evidence to make up their mind? Everything like that. Obviously, this was before my time, so I can't really speak for it. But the documentary series, was a good hit, and I would recommend anybody that loves NASA or loves documentaries to watch this, and please share your opinions on if this, could more have punishments could have been done, should somebody have gone to jail, and so forth like that. But that's the end of our episode for today. And like I says, I hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving, and be thankful that we're here and that we get to tell another story, another discussion, another review, and anything like that. Till next time, guys, have a good one.